I know you're not working right now and you just lost your job, but are you trying to go to Chicago for AllStar weekend? You know what? Let's do it. I'll worry about all the other stuff later. That is exactly what happened to me at the top of 2020 while I was still in my 20s. And the point of this story time is sometimes you have to choose the option that will regulate your nervous system in that season of your life, even if it doesn't make sense. I had just experienced my first layoff in my 20s at the top of 2020 before COVID hit. We didn't know that COVID was going to hit, by the way. And I decided that, you know what? I'm going to get on the plane. I'm going to go to AllStar in Chicago and I'll figure all the rest out when I get back. My friend didn't know it at the time, but she was throwing me a life raft because I was completely devastated. And if you've experienced a layoff before, especially your first layoff, you realize how devastating and how shocking it can be. With me still being in my 20s and having absolutely nothing to lose, I asked my friend, what are the stipulations? I want to go, but I don't have income coming in and I don't want to have to come out of pocket right now. My friend told me, I got you covered. Don't worry about it. Just show up. I packed my bags, I hopped on the plane, and completely forgot about my situation at that time. I do want to preface this video by saying that the organization that I parted ways with ended up giving me a really nice package in which I would be getting paid months later, although I was no longer physically working for the company. My friend kept her word the entire time we were in Chicago. I did not have to come up off anything, which was really, really nice. I also want to say that once the trip concluded, I was having so much fun that I showed up to the wrong airport on the wrong side of town. And my airline that I flew, I felt like I was supposed to be there in that moment because they put me on another flight, which was days later, but I ended up being able to stay in Chicago for days after once my friends had flown home. So I was actually in the Chi for a whole entire week. I didn't have to pay extra for my flight. I ended up flying back home shortly thereafter, and COVID had just hit. COVID had just hit once we got back from Chicago, and I had no idea, and of course neither did anyone else in the world, especially in the States, expect for our world and what we knew to be completely flipped on its head. And so when I think about this story and what happened to me at the top of 2020, it's one of the best decisions that I could have made to go on that trip, because going into quarantine for however long we were there, I had no regrets. I also want to end this story time by saying that I had more money saved up, 5 figures to be exact, at that time than I had ever had saved, and I had been unemployed. Because if you remember, if you filed for unemployment at the top of 2020 or in 2020 period, there was a time frame in which you got paid double or an additional a couple of hundreds of dollars. So I was literally making more money from the package that I received from the organization that I parted ways with and from the COVID pay. I was making more than I would have made if I was actually still employed. I ended up not being employed that much longer. I got a job offer and I received it on the same day as my interview. Not only that, the company that I ended up getting an offer from once I returned from AllStar weekend, I ended up being there, like I said, for 5 years. But this is also the same company where I not only got promoted to director, I got promoted to senior director exactly 1 year into my tenure of working for that organization. So again, I don't know who this story time is for, but everything always ends up working out. And it never makes sense in the moment, but it always does after the fact. If you are listening to this and you are in your 20s, even if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s, but mostly if you are in your 20s, make the decision today that is going to regulate your nervous system, even if it doesn't make sense. Because when you look back on it, one day you will look back on it like I am today, and it will all be worth it. I had a blast in Chicago at AllStar weekend. Shout out to my friend if you're watching this.